Happy Sunday, everyone. This is Sister Monica, and today's lesson is Esther goes before the king. And this is found in Esther chapter 4, 6 through 17, and then continuing over to chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. And so we're going to see here a petition before the king that has to deal with Mordecai and Esther. Mordecai was seen as Esther's father. In actuality, Mordecai was Esther's uncle who raised her from a very young age. So, we'll just say for the sake of it, this is her father, okay? And we're going to see a request that is made by Mordecai to Esther, who is the queen, and exactly how this is going to be beneficial and how it's going to show faith, and how it's going to show how no matter what, we need to do exactly what thus says the Lord. So, going to the book of Esther, chapter 4, and we are going to start with verses 6 and 7. So Hatshepsut went forth to Mordecai into the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened to him, and of the sum of money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. So when we see here that Mordecai is in the middle of the street and that Haddock came, Haddock was actually the attendant of the queen of Esther. And Mordecai was in the middle of the street in his mourning clothes, which was sackcloth, and it was hit with dust. And so he was in the street mourning because he knew that Haman wanted to destroy every Jew in the city. I want to destroy every Jew. That there's no need to have them. Pretty much, this needs to be a genocide. Okay, and so Haddock was going. "Well, why are you in the middle of the street?" Well, this is why I'm in the middle of the street. Okay, this is why I'm in the middle of the street. Matter of fact, not just in the middle of the street, but I'm in the middle of the street before the palace. And so, going on to verse 8 and 9. And he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, and showed it to Esther, and to declare it unto her, and a charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people. And Hatch came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. So Mordecai pretty much gave written proof to the attendant, to Esther's attendant, like, hey, I'm not just out here because of a rumor. I'm not just doing this for hearsay. Here is the actual decree. Here is the proof that the king has approved that the execution of all Jews within Shushan should be destroyed, that they are going to kill us off, and it's going to be at the hands of Haman. And Mordecai pretty much made a request through the attendant to Esther. Number one, I know that the decree cannot be stopped. At this time, Mordecai knew that the decree cannot be stopped. But I do know that there can be modifications, if you will, to stop the destruction of Jews. He also knew of the danger because Esther had hidden her Jewish background. They did not know that she was a Jew. And so he knew that if she went, that these were the two dangers that were in front of her. I already know that this decree cannot be, but we can make some type of countermeasures. We can make some type of supplication. I need you to go before the king and do this. I also need you to now say to the king, hey, as your queen, I am also Jew. So you're not just killing off a people, you're killing off my people within this decree. In verses 10 through 12 says, all the king's servant and the people of the king province do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out his golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. So this poor attendant is going back and forth. Remember, we didn't have no cars here. We didn't have no Ubers. All right. We didn't have no electric scooter, to roll around on. We didn't have all that. So, and it's not like this is a short walk where I'm just, walking out the door yelling, "Hey, this is what Esther said." Okay, God, hey Esther, just one more. That ain't how it is when you are out in the streets of the palace. It's not like the palace is a 2 bedroom, you feel me, or even a 6 bedroom, and you walk to the back of the house and then you just walk up to the front of the house and yell out the door. That ain't how it is. So this poor attendant, Hatchet, was like, "Hey, I'm pretty sure. Can y'all say what y'all gotta say, like just one time? So when I go back and forth, we can just do this one time because I'm walking, man. I'm walking." So Esther received the decree. She saw the decree. She understood the message that this is what you want from me, Mordecai. But what I'm going to deliver back to you is it's not just the threat of them finding out that I'm Jewish. It's not the threat of me asking to place countermeasures on a decree that we know cannot be stopped. It is the fact that the king, my husband, has not requested to even see me in 30 days. There is a law that no matter who you are, no matter what your statute, if he did not call you, you're going to die. It doesn't matter if you're coming in for good reason. It don't matter if you're coming in saying, "Hey, part of your palace is on fire. I didn't call you." It doesn't matter if you're saying, "Hey, dinner ready. I didn't call you." I understand that I live in this palace, but at the same time, that is like a off limits. It got like a locked door, got some red tape. I can't just walk up in that man's situation no matter what, regardless of me being queen or not. Because if he does not hold out his golden scepter for me to actually touch, then I am dead. The queen. All because I have not been summoned to even enter into this area. Okay, so she was letting them know it's not a fear of death because I'm a Jew. It's a fear of death because it's a law. It's a law. I'm gonna die. Surely I'm gonna die. Okay. So when we go on to verse 13 and 14, Mordecai is, like I said, he's receiving back this word from Esther, from the attendant of Esther. So in verse 13 he says, "Then Mordecai commended to answer Esther, Think not with thyself that thou shalt escape the king's house more than all the Jews. If thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" So we see here the tables have turned. Yes, Mordecai is in mourning because he knows of what's going to happen. But at the same time, he not only poses a ethical dilemma to Esther, but he also begins to speak in faith. He decides that, you know what, I'm no longer going to operate out of sadness or out of fear, but I'm going to start interjecting my faith. I'm going to start now speaking to you, not just as your father, but as another man of God, letting you know that this is bigger than just you. And so when Mordecai is hearing what Esther is talking about through her attendant about not being able to enter into this inner sanctum, Mordecai goes, boop. Number one, you are no more than the whole Jewish nation in general. So this is not just about you. I'm not just asking you this because you live up in the house and you have his ear. So let's just get, I'm not just making this request because I know somebody on the inside. That's not what this is about. So this is more than just about you, Esther. So take yourself out of the equation. And that's what we have to do. When danger presents itself, when adversity presents itself, we like to put ourselves in, well, I understand that it's for the greater good, but what about me? And when we begin to put ourselves before God's people, then we begin to go ahead and we begin to cause more issue than problem solving. And so that's what Mordecai had to get out the way. Take yourself out the equation, Esther. Let's go ahead and take out self, and we're going to input us. Number two, he imposed that at this time, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. This is where his faith starts to come in. It's fine if you don't want to do it, but the deliverance will come, and it'll come at the hands of someone else. Now, I don't know if God had revealed this to Mordecai, or if Mordecai was just in general walking and speaking in his faith when he made this request. But I do know that it was in faith. I do know that he had to get her all the way together and say that you are not the end all of end all. I do know that he had to put it down like, hey, God is the beginning and the end. And when he says so, he says so. And that's it. And I believe that God will not allow his own people to suffer. What I am asking before God has to go ahead and raise his right hand is that you intercede. But if you don't want to, it'll still happen just without you. And the third part of this, he not only said, if you don't want to do it, it'll happen without you, but you and your father's house will surely die. So he'll deliver. What he's saying is God will deliver the Jewish people, but you will not be one of them because you refuse to do his work. Let's think about that, family. Let us not cut ourselves off from a blessing because we refuse to do his work, where all of our other people are being blessed, and us and our household get cut off because of our sheer ignorance and because we want to put ourselves before the greater good. We want to put ourselves before God's plan. So Mordecai had to bring that all back together like, hey, I know you queen and all, but let me go ahead and tell you, your queendomism is not higher than the power of God. And you're placed here in this position as being a queen, not because you're beautiful. I understand that you caught the king's eye, but it's not because you're beautiful. We're not saying that you're not. What we're saying is you have a higher purpose. You, as a Jewish woman inside of a Persian kingdom, have been set here for a time such as this, a time to stand up and speak. Speak the truth. So, really, you're in a foreign territory because they don't even like you. They don't even know who you are. And if you think that your beauty is just going to carry you on, in actuality, it is because you have a task at hand, such as this. This is why you have been placed there. That was his question at the end. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? You came to this kingdom with a purpose. With a purpose. Regardless of how it started out, this is how it's going to end. This is just the kickstart. And that's what we need to know. We may be in a room full of the enemy, full of those who want to see our demise, full of those who wish death upon us and our people, not even knowing who you are because you hid it, not even knowing that you are a child of God because you hid it. And now you're in this high position. You're in this area where you do have the ears of those who can change. And because you are afraid of persecution, you pose a question to deny instead of posing a question on, I am here for this very reason. Thank God Mordecai went ahead and put that bug in her ear, if you will, through her poor attendant who's walking back and forth between two of these people. Okay? So, going on to verse 15 through 17. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise. And so will I go into the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. So her last decree, her last message through her attendant to get back to Mordecai, and not just Mordecai, but the Jewish people, was that everyone shall fast. We understand what fasting is. When we fast, we're not just doing it to lose weight. We're not just fasting so we can go ahead and detox ourselves and our skin is glowing, our nails are growing, hair is looking great, and we're complimenting, hey girl, you look good. What is that? You dropped 2 pounds, 3 pounds? You look amazing. It's not what it's for. Esther understood. She received what Mordecai said to her. She received it and she understood that this is bigger than me. And when she said, if I perish, I'll perish. Because she understood that regardless if I perish, if I succeed, Mordecai has already spoken to me in his faith that the deliverance is going to come by whose hand we don't know, but it is going to come. And so before I enter into the sanctum, and before I enter into the king, not only will I fast, but I need you and all of the Jewish people within Shushan to fast. This is bigger than us. When we want to receive deliverance, we want to receive the word of God. We want to hear his voice more clearly. When we are entering into battle, we need to prepare ourselves. And that preparation was fasting and praying. We need to understand that when we go into an area in which we need nothing but the voice and the action of God, we have to remove ourselves. We have to deny ourselves in order for us to receive what God has. We have to step out of the physical and enter into the spiritual. This was a spiritual move because this decree could not be stopped, but there could be measures in place to stop the full effect of it happening. And you can't do that if you enter in within your flesh. You don't know what to say. You don't know what to do. But we understand that God has all authority and power. And I can't allow God to flow through me if I'm walking in as Monica. I can't. Esther could not go in there herself, but God could. She had to have God with her. And the only way she knew to do that was remove everything else. See, we're getting rid of the distractions. It wasn't just her that was going to fast and pray. She was going to have her handmaidens pray as well. She was going to have Mordecai pray as well and fast. And she was going to have all the Jews, because look here. It says where 2 or 3 are gathered in his name. Guess what? I'm going to need more than 2 and 3. I'm going to need everyone to be on the same page. Because you guys, our utter destruction is coming. It's not just a possibility. It's already in the works. It's been signed. It's been declared. It's coming. So we all got to be on the same page. It can't be one of us going, well, I know a little hideaway and I got me about, a couple $1,000. I can just go ahead and dip out. They ain't going to never find me. They just killing the people that's in the city. I'm going to another city. That ain't it. We need everybody to be on one accord, regardless of the fact if you have an escape route or not, because this decree is going out. And he's taken every Jew out. So going to chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel. I promise you I can read that. Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the house. And the king sat up upon his royal throne in the royal house over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top. Look at here. When you operate within the will of God, walls begin to fall, hearts begin to soften, minds begin to change. People begin to operate in ways that they never would. This man had not asked to see his own queen for 30 days. 30 whole days. He had not asked, he had not thought. And should we know here that she fasted and prayed, so it was 33 days. He had not seen his queen. When he saw her, before she even spoke, before she made her request or her petition to the king, he automatically gave her favor, when according to the law she should have died. Do not tell me what God cannot do. And that's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. But he gave her favor. When you operate within the will of God, there is nothing that is impossible. When you walk in fully aware of his power, fully aware of what he can do and what he has done, fully prepared. She was prepared. And she just didn't prepare herself. She prepared everyone that was around her. That's why you got to be careful who you connected to. Because if you're connected to me and you're going to go into battle with me, I'm going to need you to be of the Lord. I don't need you to be of the world, because we will surely die. We need to prepare ourselves before we go before the presence of the enemy, because you are not strong enough to fight the enemy by yourself. He will surely devour you. Devour. It's the reason why the Bible used devour, not that, he just gonna slap you around and you can go ahead and put an ice pack on it. Wow, that really hurt. That one really. Nah, that ain't it. Devours you. That's what the enemy does. If she would have went in there as Esther and not as a child of God, she would have been devoured. Her own king would have killed her. All for walking into his inner sanctum. Do we get it? When the Lord prepares the table before your enemies, he does that because he's already the Alpha and the Omega. You're the one who got to get prepared to sit at the table. It's already set for you. But see, you got to come with your covering. You can't just sit there and just be eating, thinking that your enemy ain't going to come and smack you all around. You crazy. They want what you got. Esther knew, you know what? Mordecai is right. This is bigger than me. And yes, I am placed in this position for a reason. Let us know that we are in position for a reason. We just gotta get ready. When we talk about getting ready, it's exactly that. You have to fast. You have to pray. You have to stand upon something solid, because you are entering into a war zone where you have no authority and power, only God. So, when we go before our enemies, when we enter into battle, let us prepare. Let us know that the situation at hand, number one, is not as it seems, but it is not about us. Someone is dependent upon us. They're dependent upon our breakthrough. And we have to get it in order to see our people manifest, in order to see our people blessed. Because when you receive a blessing, it's not just about you. It's about those who are connected to you. Okay? So I'll see you guys later, and happy Sunday.